Well, me and James did it, remember? We had the software company. It was Ring calling everybody.
Yeah.
Come and do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
When are we getting that back?
Yeah.
Where's James?
There is no way to adapt to when the government shuts you down. So
Right,
these videos were going
just
everywhere.
to reiterate that, I did have a question, but I've not. But if you can't go out, go in. That's what happens to your lower regions as a male. So
When you do go out and you go in, they go up. Guys, good evening and welcome to the Informatics podcast episode.
Evening.
I've forgotten series 2. Well, that's easy part because it's series 2.
Season 3, Kenny.
Would not be if you told me that, Danny, I would not be surprised.
Season 2.
Exactly. We welcome a guest this evening who is probably known to most of you. But before we
we've got a surprise.
We've got a crack. Daniel, the business of the podcast.
Yeah. So as you know, welcome back. We're powered by Intelligence. The Info Matters podcast. I don't say cat anymore, which is a bit.
You managed to get it right after 36
episodes.
Right.
Yeah, this episode's sponsored by Watchman. If you're into watches, it's in the link down below. My good friend Anthony will sort you out. To our subscribers, new, old, middle-aged, this size, my size, your size, under the table, not under the table. Like and subscribe. As you know, Info Matters. We've kind of taken a tangent in season 2. We're a bit more organic and talking about people themselves. Why are they into the business they're in? You know, a bit more personal this time around. We've got a cracker for you today.
Yes, we do.
Kenny, do we know this gentleman?
He's exceptionally tall, and of course we know him, Danny.
We'd like to welcome Max Munson.
Yes.
Hey guys.
Welcome on the show, brother.
Thank you very
Pleasure.
much.
The exceptionally
Great to be here.
tall Max
Exceptionally
Munson.
tall. So what we thought with this show is we're going to ask about yourself. So instead of cybersecurity and technology,
Tech and
which
all,
Kenny and I tend to jump in and ignore you, you might get a chance to talk on this. Now, myself and Kenny know Max for a long time. In fact, Max is a restaurateur, bar owner, club owner, avid swimmer, Wim Hof specialist, which you can also go to his profile in the link below. It will flash down here. Before we carry on, Intelligence, we do have an urgent need. For system architects, Sentinel architects, I believe it is. If you're in that industry, you'll understand the wordage I'm using.
Yep.
But Max, I walked into your first bar,
1940.
September the 9th, 1996. Shook your hand,
That's crazy.
and it all started
Yeah,
then. So I know why
that's so
I
true.
came over
Yeah.
to the Czech Republic. What
Yeah.
brought you?
Man. Thanks for walking in that day, man.
Yeah, we've been
We've
very
had a lot
good
of great
friends ever
times
since.
since.
Yeah, decades of birthdays. We
I was about to
celebrated
say, the
together.
number of kids we've put through school.
Yeah, a number of kids we put under bars.
Yeah. No argument there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So, man, first of all, that was a great time and a great day. And it was great meeting you then. I think we've had so many great times.
Weddings, bar mitzvahs, funerals. I think we
funerals,
combined a lot,
yeah,
really.
yeah,
haven't we?
Yeah, it really is. It's the
30s,
whole- it's the
40s,
whole list.
50s. We've
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done
celebrated.
50. Well, I've not done mine
You've
yet.
done it yet.
It's coming.
Yeah.
So 1996, so that was 4 years after I moved to Czechoslovakia. It was still Czechoslovakia when I moved here. Then I think it became, then they split January 1, it became Czech Republic and Slovakia, and I moved in, but I was here in 1992, and I had moved here from Paris.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Bonjour, Max.
yeah,
Où
I
est le
think-
gars?
Very good.
I know. Tout droit, voilà.
No surprises.
I think I did know that because you were studying there, if I remember.
So I finished
You mean I use the
school,
term loosely?
Yeah, so I went to school at Arizona State University.
Right.
And
I
I
know
was
that, yeah.
studying
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. And then you
in
came
addition
to
some other
Europe.
thing, having a great time.
Yeah.
Got a great education, and then I moved to Paris to kind of continue the education and try and become fluent in French.
Didn't
how
know.
was that?
How's that?
Idea.
Yeah, how did that go?
It was, I tell you,
J'ai de l'informatique con action aviez-le. I was outside the chemist when the accident
Yeah.
happened. Useless.com.
this is,
But
it's
then-
more important.
You're just a man of
Sounds
surprises,
good,
Mr.
though.
Bunyan. No, it
didn't
sounded
know.
good. It could be absolute shit.
So we
don't
know that you came after uni. I've got your hat, the Arizona State.
Arizona State.
Sun
Sun
Devils.
Devils.
Sun Devil,
Yeah,
amazing hat.
exactly.
What got you into bars and because I mean, Kenny knows you from the restaurant.
Yeah.
I was back in the day with Cornucopia,
Yeah.
X Club.
Man.
You know, the old the
Nobody
stuff,
remembers those places.
the worst
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, you come out of Cornucopia and burn your clothes because you were
Yeah.
covered in treacle fat. Yeah. But it was what got you into the industry? But you
No,
know
it's
it's
just a
true.
nice-
man.
I know. Says it with love.
Once again, I'm not going to be able to argue with that one. So we, man, how did I get in that business? Throughout university, I was always working in restaurants. So I would work at the Hard Rock Cafe. I would work at the Improv Comedy Club.
Right.
I love those places. That was where the action was.
Yeah.
I love meeting people. I love bringing people there. And I always thought that was the thing to do.
Well, you're bloody good at it.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
Connected with random people.
Hashtag Max's Steakhouse if you do get the pleasure to come to Prague.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
The best dry aged steak. We've just been having a look at pictures. I'm starving because our producer doesn't feed us. But we'll put Max's restaurant.
We have to do something about that, Dave.
We'll put the link in there. We'll put your restaurant link in the tab below as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, great place. Come by, say hi. It's very originally named.
Yeah. I wonder who it's owned by. Exactly.
Yeah, I was in the business for so long and I never put my name on anything. Right?
After all these
where
years.
did Yama come from then? Because it's the street.
Yama was
Yama
the name of the street. So we had this idea, my partner and I, we had this idea we would open up this all-American place because in 1992, 93, we were writing our business plan. We wanted to open up an American-style place. And we kind of thought of like obnoxious American style. And then it occurred to us, maybe a lot of people wouldn't want to go to a place like that. What if it had all the good things about American style and service, but without the obnoxious part? You know, no American flags, no Harley Davidsons. What if it was just bigger selection?
Hey,
what
I'm
if
a
it was
hog.
just friendly service?
I was about to say, and then what happened was the obnoxious customers arrived. Sorry.
That happened in 1996.
Yeah, it did. I walked in the door, it kind of followed me in.
And then I followed in 2005 or 6.
I mean, the Yama though. I never walked in the day after you decided to sell it.
Oh man,
never been back. I've walked past it. I refuse to go in because it's
Shadow
you were the Yama, you were the
tough
pin,
one.
and Dan spent the best part of 25 years. We sold the bar off on the 25th auction. The bar.
We all have parts of the bar, and of course, there's a bit of scandal there, Max. In the I say scandal, love, because you married the very lovely Marcella.
Yes, of course.
Hi, Marcella.
And
shout out.
And Danny had forays into. I shouldn't go there, but I dated another Marcella, not the Marcella.
It was a social place.
It was a very social place.
And I was with James at the weekend, who was with Lutzka still. Still one of the remaining.
Oh, sorry, Marika, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm trying to get the MJ.
There are a lot of Yama babies out there.
Yeah,
a lot of babies from the couples that met there, had babies, and are no longer
Helena, if
together.
you're watching, I don't have one.
No. I was just going to say, just before I get him in trouble. Yeah, you get the point. But yeah, it's a very social place.
And for people who don't know, I mean, there were parties. Like every year, there was a Halloween party, there's a New Year's Eve party, there was the Yama birthday party, always in costumes.
Daniel's stuff.
We would have, special weekends. There was Friday night party night. There were there were also food events. We would have the chili con carne, like
the cook-off
thing, chili cook-off. We did that a few years in a row. We had the Yama golf. Remember we had the golf tournament like 8 years in a row?
Still got that. Remember, because I won a prize, because I was teeing off on every hole. And at the end of it, I won like shades and stuff and glove and everything. I just cheated.
You were the only one who learned how to play golf while at a tournament.
Yes, First time I'd ever seen golf played. Yeah, I remember that very well.
I still remember walking out one night wearing all of the promotional T-shirts. And I still remember you and I saying when Jack Daniels were kind enough to sponsor your events.
Yeah, literally, you have like
we have all the T-shirts.
Well, you actually got the woman's dress as well. You have.
There's a bit of scandal there.
One of the whole and just stealing the bank.
I made a deal with one of the hostesses for her dress and won.
Wow. Yeah. So who did you onto you? So you wrote a business plan, and in those days with a pen and paper, and not ChatGPT on a MacBook that cost €50,000. And who did you get investment from? Friends, family?
We had to go to Copy General to type it on a computer.
I can imagine.
We didn't have our own.
Yeah, and a dial-up
modem on a typewriter.
So we rent the computer by the hour and then print it out and reprint it. And so friends and family put in some money. And then I tried to get money from other institutions as well.
Yep.
Like the budget went from, we were kind of naive. We were both English majors. We were not business majors. So I think the budget went from like $40,000. And in the end, the first restaurant cost $330,000 to open. So
slight miss.
Fortunately, when we started seeking capital, the business plan was already at $100,000. So we did get $100,000 of seed capital from friends and family, which is like the OG way to get money if you're a young entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, me and James did it. Remember when we had the software company? It was Ring calling everybody. Come and do that. Yeah. When are we getting that back? Yeah. Where's James?
He's in Yama.
There is a lot of
Yama, because that's how we did all of our business.
And he was literally in Yama.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, a few people invested. A lot of people did not invest. And then we got the $100,000, and we realized after we found the location, and we got the construction estimate for how much it was going to be to reconstruct the place to make it look like, just to put the outline, the framework for Yama, even without the bar and without the booze and without the tables, without the kitchen, that was going to be $144,000 back then. Well, there is something about being naive and a newbie in a country where you don't speak the language. So I think we got
nailed on
a bit of the American price.
Oh yeah.
So there's that. I'm much better at that now. But your first venture.
We touched on that. I think during our legal episode, whereupon English speaking. I mean, it's changed since, of course, they would say way back then. Where if you're non-native, there tends to be a non-native margin.
Yeah.
Well, you remember, Matt. I mean, yourself as well. I'm not. You've been here forever as well. There used to be different prices in menus. There were different prices for expats everywhere, unless you learn the language. And I'd sit in restaurants and people would go, "Oh, look, his head," nailing them on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and literally,
exactly.
it was 100% different.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Even at the airport, they used to have different prices for expats and what have you.
It was a big controversy, dual pricing.
Yeah.
We never did it.
Yeah.
We never did it.
Yeah.
The whole point
But
was
it's
to have low
everywhere, wasn't it?
prices all day, every day, so that the Czechs feel comfortable, the students feel comfortable, the security guards across the street, the businessmen down the road.
But it was always a good mix, even though you were
The
slap
IT
bang in the
guys.
middle of the
Yeah.
centre. Well, we had Radio Free Europe.
Radio for Europe, regulars from
just
day
a-
one.
yeah.
Day one, yeah.
I mean, I used to go to the gym, then go to yours and drink creatine and beer with Jen.
I
That's
remember
how
that.
far away the gym was from the pub. Literally, you come out and turn the corner.
And then we used to when we started.
No one else has ever done that.
Yeah, and we probably me. We'll wait and see. When there was an office holiday, because we were working for other countries, we would go to Yama and work for the day.
Yeah.
And have a bite, coffees in the
But
morning.
Yama was
and a bite to
everything.
eat.
It was
Yeah.
everything.
It was a massive institution for which.
It was a hub.
Yeah,
it was a bit of a hub.
and it's and kind of progressing on from that, you've become a bit of a hub. Yama was always a kind of Max place for me, and we've become very loyal and friends to follow you into what's become Max's Steakhouse. But there are other ventures now, Max, that you've kind of come through. You've stuck with what you know, I guess, which is restaurants. But tell our beautiful viewers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fair to say COVID was a bit of a turning point for you and the rest of the bloody world.
Yeah.
And I imagine that required a bit of a coping mechanism. You can see where I'm going with this.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, of course. Well, the first place opens, and then you're flavor of the month. Month after month after month for years, right? So everyone is talking about that restaurant, and it turned out it was near Wenceslas Square. It was this great location. Czechs felt comfortable there. Foreigners felt comfortable there.
Yep.
People were friendly. It wasn't the kind of service where someone comes up to you and just says,
What? Yeah.
if you're lucky, they'll say what.
If you're like,
I mean, the name of the restaurant was Vyamya, Yakov Mamya.
yeah.
Right, that was our little subtitle.
So at home,
whatever.
with your mum, sort of coziness to translate it.
And so then we had some offers and people wanting to partner up with us. So then we opened up a bunch more places. So over the years, I think it was like 7 or 8 restaurants, a couple of those clubs that you remember.
It was slightly before my time, and from what I've heard, I wouldn't remember them anyway.
It was different.
No.
It was different. I mean, on the Teacup back then, there was nothing.
No.
Right.
You had Slavansky Dom, which is now your cinemas and your posh shops and this and that. And then you got Dětský Dom opposite. In Dětský Dom, wasn't it?
In Dětský Dom.
Dětský opposite, which was just literally just got in an elevator that was made out of toast.
Right.
And it was just a little clankety thing that would go up, and it was weird.
No,
then you go in the basement, it's like a reggae club. You just drink shots of green stuff. An X Club was there. This is a long time ago. This is late 90s.
Wait, so this
isn't
is
it?
We had a security guard who was kicked through as one of our unruly customers. And he was escorting the unruly customer out. The unruly customer turned around, kicked him in the head, knocked the security guard back through the elevator door, and there was no elevator. And he went down 3 stories.
Is he
and,
dead
and
now?
he survived. He was in the hospital for some time.
Wow.
He survived. He's going to be okay. But
There wasn't
it was
a big
the worst
there's a
thing.
grilled chicken stand outside, wasn't there?
There was. That was a different guy, though.
Right.
There were conflicts
No,
with
just
that,
remember you
with
go
that
to
guy
this
as well,
company,
but
you
not-
come out like that.
Yeah.
And someone selling grilled chicken. It was very different back then. Very, very
I mean,
different.
that's the Prague equivalent of a street kebab.
There was
I
nothing in
imagine.
Prague.
Yeah, no,
Prague
of
was
course.
nothing was developed. It was old school.
Yeah.
And it was time to kind of open up new places because the opportunity there was huge.
Right.
You remember what it was like then.
Yeah.
A lot of
Untapped,
the restaurants looked the same.
Right.
The service was it was rarely good. The product was always the same. Like literally, there was one recipe book for all the recipes up through 1990 that everybody had to cook their meals from. Granted, it doesn't mean the same goulash everywhere.
Yeah.
There were maybe
But it was goulash.
18 different goulash recipes.
Right.
But it was still from the same recipe book.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to do something different. So each place that we opened would offer, we had an Australian place called the Boomerang Bar and Grill.
Crikey, that was yours as well, wasn't it?
It was in the shape of a boomerang. It had a bar in the shape of a boomerang. It was cool with Australian.
I forgot
cuisine.
that was
first
yours.
place with Australian food. We had Cornucopia, the
remember
place you
Cornucopia.
mentioned, sandwich place. It was like the first. Anyway, so some cool places. And then, but by the time my partners went back to the States and then came back, So it's kind of doing everything with my wife, I think, at that point, almost everything. I had that sports bar called the Pack Sports Bar.
Of course, yeah. Still got the hat.
Which I really liked on Vesmechkok Street.
Yeah.
But by the time COVID hit, to answer your question, I had 2 restaurants. There was the Steakhouse and there was the original Yama. So I went in with 2 and I came out of COVID with 1. So that was
So
COVID,
Yama was
that's a
offloaded
tough one.
halfway through COVID, wasn't it? Or was it just
It
before?
was a few months in.
Right.
A few months in.
Yeah.
There was already a guy that I was talking to. We had kind of made arrangements. COVID hit. The deal was off. And then we got back together a few months later and made it happen. And
in hindsight, a good choice.
I think so. Like that was like COVID. No one. Like you can't be ready for something like that.
No.
So you have to. Like there's all these factors that can change, and then you always have the wherewithal to kind of adapt or not adapt, and the people that survive are those who adapted the best. There is no way to adapt to when the government shuts you down and says you are literally not allowed. We're going to tie your hands and feet up, and you are not allowed to do anything from now on. And then they say they're going to support you, and this is where I began to not have the greatest amount of faith in the media coverage of things.
Yeah, of course.
Is then you're supposed to get this kind of, if they shut you down, they don't let you do business, then they should at least cover your basics, I guess. For example,
cover the basics or give you a light.
You're in the industry where we're in tech, computers, online videos, etc. You're in the hospitality industry, which is you're not relying on tech. You're relying on people eating.
You need to have butts on seats.
Yeah.
And so there was no real. The support was not much. I mean, whatever came, I was very grateful for. But then we had to kind of figure out how to make things go. And everyone was going to all of the food delivery places. Yeah. I was delivering stuff personally door to door to all the places that were still open, which were I think pharmacies, telecom places, and banks.
Everything was considered critical.
And so we had
or
some banks and pharmacies literally getting lunch from us every week, but still income was down 96%.
And that's quite precise. So it's obviously a well-rehearsed number, a well-known number to you.
96%.
That's 96%, even with you doing stuff as well, with you going out there, doing the proactive.
It's almost as though you're doing it just because you feel like you've got to do something, and by doing it, you'll kind of learn how to do things better.
And at the start, you couldn't go out, could you? So you couldn't go past the door of Yama or the Max's Steakhouse and get food.
I think you could. I think it was like the window service.
Yeah, we could do the window service.
But when it initially kicked in, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't even go out.
No, at the beginning, I think it was total lockdown.
Yeah. Well, they locked us all in our kind of okras.
Well, I remember seeing on the news, you'd see the streets of New York and London, and there's nobody.
Well, I mean, I on the times I did venture out, Prague was a morgue. I mean, it was.
I lived next to Charles Bridge, and it was just weird.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Starometska, you look at Charles Bridge. I mean, any time, doesn't matter what time of day, people walking over that bridge. You can imagine. To sit day in, day out, week in, week out with no trade or 4% trade of what you're used to. I mean, what does that pay for? Nothing.
So then you wonder. So you've got your staff. You have a staff at one restaurant. You have a staff at the other. Yeah. You're on duty, right? Like this is your job to pay the staff. And so some of the staff went home and they said, we don't want to work because this is dangerous. We're going to stay home and we're just going to go on the COVID leave. And then the government would send them some small amount of money. I say, okay, all right, understood. Those who want to work, we will do what we can to pay you. So I would say half or maybe 2/3 were working, and then you're wondering, how am I going to pay everybody? Right. So
and what's my runway? Right. Right.
And there's nothing there. So Marcel and I would every night, like we would just go. We would get home from working the lunch business at the 2 restaurants, and we would go home and we would take a nap because you're wasted.
mentally,
you're down, and then we'd watch Netflix and drink.
Drink heavily.
I mean,
I think everyone turned into a bit of an alky.
It was terrible, and we would never ever do that. Nor we would never watch something
Netflix
and drink.
Yes,
right. It would never be those two things.
I mean, it must be difficult when you've got a bit more free time, but to forget the stress that everything's collapsed around you. You've actually got one of the best stocked bars in your house.
So fortunately,
we can sell it, or we can
tastings every week starting to pay off.
We can sell it, we can drink it.
I'll just nip downstairs for a year.
Whiskey Wednesday, which is the only whiskey tasting that I think you can go to every single week.
Shout out to Whiskey Wednesday, Kenny.
We're doing it at Max's Steakhouse.
Massive fan. You should get involved. We'll get a link to Max's Instagram. Whiskey Wednesday.
It's a different tasting every Wednesday, 6 o'clock.
Tasting.
Different. It's a tasting, not a drinking. Thank you. That's our moniker.
You've changed it. When I turned up, it was drinking.
It's elevator whiskey time.
I remember that story. We'll tell that joke.
So if we had that at 6 o'clock, and I was doing that for a couple of years up till COVID, so of course there were some stocks left from Whiskey Wednesday. Wednesday, and that helped.
Excuse.
During
Settled
I mean,
the
helped.
nerve.
It helped.
Yeah, it didn't solve the problem, but it got you.
Yeah.
Got you
So
through.
those were dark days indeed, and it was not healthy. You know, Marcel and I were healthy people and exercising quite often, and the gyms were closed and the pools were closed. And so what are you going to do when you're not even supposed to be outside? So we were not doing healthy things, and that was not a good time.
So it's kind of counterproductive, vicious circle almost. You know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I get it.
And you keep thinking there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel, but there is no light. But like you just know by definition, there must be a light at the end of the tunnel.
I remember being
right?
3 months in, and we were all sent home from the office, and we even did Whiskey Wednesday on video. So you kind of
March
extend.
2020.
Yeah. So we I remember that first 3 months thinking 6 months.
Yeah.
And then
6 months tops.
and I mean everyone was kind of hoping, willing, praying, and all of the above. 3 years later, dude,
4 years later. it is now.
right. So
And it's the impacts.
it's still being felt, right?
But then I saw something on YouTube, and it was Wim Hof, this guy on YouTube saying, "Hey, if you can't go out, go in." Did you, if you guys ever saw
Right,
this? These videos were going
just
everywhere.
to reiterate that, I did have a question, but I've not. But if you can't go out, go in. That's what happens to your lower regions as a male. So
When you do go out and you go in, they go up.
Max will tell his story now, but on your advice, every morning now, after my hot shower, I have 30 seconds freezing cold.
Yeah, excellent.
I don't look forward to it
Excellent.
because winter's set in.
Yeah.
But wow, does it invigorate your mind?
You turn the faucet to cold in the shower.
As cold as it'll go.
Excellent. And now it's cold, and it's December.
I don't do all the way. I do it a slightly curly way.
A tepid perm wall.
Yeah.
You've been
Something
building
like
up
that.
to it though, right?
No,
You
I
start
build
off
up, and then you're like,
and now you're going. So I think you're all right.
So Max, tell us about because you're qualified. Again, there's a lot of things that you'll be able to press
Absolutely.
on in this show, and it's maxmunson.com.
.cz.
Maxmunson.cz.
.cz. That'll be down below if you want to learn about.
Yeah.
Max is going to tell you.
The Wim Hof method.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of ways to help you. There are a lot of ways out there to help you cope with some dark time, like the one we were going through, which I have to say was probably my darkest time. I've never had mental issues. I've never had things to speak of. Consider I have other friends who have a lot of issues, and I'm thinking, okay, I've been lucky to not have those issues. And then COVID comes, and you start to have anxiety, and you start this nervous and this darkness and this depression, and so you're thinking, all right, what Netflix
steak.
and whiskey
Dry
is not
aged
the way.
steak.
Red meat and red wine. That is one solution.
Bugger it, whiskey, solid. Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so there seemed to be someone offering a solution on YouTube, and these videos were going around. And because I think so many people were at home and so many people were surfing, and looking at their social media and their YouTube way more than they normally would. This kind of trend, I think it was a trend or a movement, really took hold, and that was this ice bathing. And it had been going on. This has been going on for 2,000 years, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
Wim Hof did not invent anything, but this Dutch guy named Wim Hof, if you are not fully aware of what he is, he created this phenomenon of doing ice baths or cold exposure and breath work and some mental focus or meditation. And you combine these three things, and they call it the Wim Hof method. And that sounded really interesting to me. So Marcella and I said, we should do that. That would be better than what we're doing now. And just as we were getting ready to do it, and I went out and I even went into the cold water with some swimmer friends, and because the pools were closed, and we actually did some swimming in really cold water, which the first time I went out maybe 50 meters and came back, the next time 100 meters, the next time 200 meters.
Right.
It's kind of surprising that you can actually swim in cold water, and that's where I found this out. And I said to Marcella, my wife, let's do this. This is amazing. And then the lockdown ended.
Right.
And the pools opened up and the business opened up. Like, all right, maybe we can make this work.
Okay.
After all, without the Wim Hof method. And then COVID was over. Remember the first time COVID was
Oh,
over?
you mean it was the COVID break?
Wait, was that
COVID
another
break,
time?
fooled everybody.
We thought it
The
was
Czech
over.
Republic had a party on the Charles Bridge, and then we were the top of the charts for the next 6 months in COVID infections.
I was
and
in
all this.
Costa Rica just as it locked down again.
Exactly.
And I'm like, how do I get back?
I've got
Home on a beach, bugger.
Yeah. It's a good place to be stuck.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't
Absolutely.
bad.
And so then the next lockdown
Yes.
happened. And that's when we immediately signed up for this course, and we took this Wim Hof method course. And I loved it so much, and it helped us so much just to deal with the darkness. We're going in and facing the darkness. We have no idea how we're going to pay these people. We have no idea how we're going to pay. Right now we have some rent forgiveness, but there's still 20% of the rent you've got to pay.
Yeah.
We're getting the energy company has realized we've cut this expense. They've acknowledged, but then there are a lot of things that we couldn't cut. So to help face that, you're doing some pretty hard stuff. It's hard to turn that faucet to cold every day. It's hard to go into
what's coming.
a
That's the
bathtub
problem.
filled with ice.
Yeah.
And so if you can you start off your day with that hard thing, then the next thing you face
It'll be easier
is
or
a little
easier,
more of a
not
manageable
Yes.
challenge than going into an ice.
I mean, my brother, and he heard about it from me. I heard about it from you, and he started doing it. You go out, at weekends they go away and they do the submersion in the tubs and breathing. And he says, hours,
by it,
your endorphins are powered up and you just feel different. Like, go and buy me a Porsche. I think
that's an endorphin.
Feel empowered. Get down to the garage.
Wobble.
Yeah.
But he loves it. And I haven't progressed any further. You've invited me many a times to come and sit on a hotel roof in my skids in front of pretty women and have no penis. I haven't gone that far yet. I might be old, but I've still
Next step, Danny.
Next step.
Max is an Olympic, well, not Olympic medal holder in no nuts.
Well, the thing is,
no nuts.
and on the back,
We'll come
of
to the funny
that, I
part,
mean,
yeah.
that's
joking
that
aside.
helped you, get yourself through, yourself and Marcella, partially way through it. It must have been horrible. And like I say, knowing you're going through this, but you also achieved something during COVID, which is bucket list for me. And I've got about 200 copies because I bought all of them. And you
did buy a lot of copies.
I bought a lot.
Ding, ding, ding,
ding.
You bought more copies than my dad. He got plenty of copies.
I've got a copy for everyone. You signed them. Is that you had a passion which you'll tell us about for swimming? Which another thing. Didn't know that you studied in Paris. Didn't know that you were an avid swimmer. You wrote a book.
And I wrote a book. Exactly.
Called Max Can Swim.
Diving back in.
It's called Diving Back In. And I think it's a great book. It's a short read.
It is.
It's a nice read.
It is.
It's authentic. It's like a great story. And I think it's like you can use it as about swimming, like how to get into swimming or to get back into swimming. Or you can use it as a metaphor for how to get back to something as an adult that you loved as a kid and lost somehow in your adulthood.
Right.
We start putting all these things aside.
Yeah, you open 9 bars, 2 restaurants,
we were talking about earlier today. Yeah,
I'm going back.
You lose touch with some other things.
You do.
Yeah. And that is a healthy thing to have in your life.
Yeah.
And you lose touch with it. So you want to keep the nightlife, and you want to keep, I think, these other
balance.
things to help some balance in your life. And so I wrote a book about that. And so many people have come up to me and said, "Hey man, I used to play the guitar as a kid, and I gave it up, and I'm playing the guitar again." Or I've got another friend, Tom we call him Texas Tom. Tom. He said, "Max, I'm doing motocross again. I gave that up as a kid, and I'm going to start." So we can do it, and then the overall thing of the book is, I think, we can get more enjoyment out of these things as adults than we even did as kids. Because now we've got all this perspective to add to it. We respect our time more. We just took time for granted as kids.
Yeah. Because
it
didn't matter. We had all the time in the world, and that's become at our age. Well, as far as you become a little bit more hyper aware of the time. It's December. We started. We're 36 episodes into this.
We started this.
We started this
year.
The year.
We're a year into it.
And it's Merry Christmas in 2 weeks' time, right?
Sure.
Crazy.
Sure.
So you become aware of that, and
time, relationships.
Yes.
More aware of respect them more, and you can enjoy the moment rather than just winning a medal or achieving the goal. You can also enjoy the way there.
And you combine that with cold bollocks as well, haven't you?
Yeah,
You're doing cold
we're giving Max.
I don't think people know why you guys keep talking about
we keep saying it because, of course, in the setup to the show, we were saying, so basically every weekend, Max, you go and you put your nuts in lots of cold water. Yes. And so we, of course, because we're Danny and I...
That's not what it's called.
No, we know, but practically...
Well, I think if you look at Wim Hof means balls up.
And you hope they come back down.
And they hope they come back down.
Yeah. Hair dryer. Exactly. I mean, we are trivializing your majestic efforts to do with all this kind of stuff. And of course, the theme of the podcast, we talk about information. And over the years, you've used all the information and running all these bars and restaurants to keep stability now for as long as we don't know.
It's how you've dealt with it as an individual,
right? Yeah.
And you brought other things into your life to do so.
And when we had Joel on,
when
we had Joel on it, maybe this is an age and stage thing for us all. We're all in a certain age group where you begin to realise you don't want to work your nuts off,
right?
But you actually want to have
Maxmunson.cz.
It's not the end, and so you cruise. And one of the things I see all the time is you have to grow your business and you've got to be exponential. Sod that. Stability is okay. You don't have to, right? As long as you've got it stable and all that kind of good stuff.
Agreed.
And I'm sure you're busy enough now, but you've decided, Max, because you told us, you're going to do another book.
Now I'm working on another book. I think you're not supposed to talk about it too much before you actually have it out. However, yes, there should
I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, Kenny, it's called dim sum.
I should, because that's what everyone talks about.
We can cut that if you want, if you don't want to mention it.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You sure?
I'm okay. Yeah, let's throw it out there. Let's throw it out there, and now, you know.
Okay, dim sum.
Not wishing to jinx us, Max. A second, but we'll breeze on.
So I mean, I suppose we could even ask you a question. How do you grow your business? Do you use a lot of online marketing? Do you use your Instagrams? I mean, I know you do, because I see Whiskey Wednesdays and Max's Steakhouse.
So that first place, Yama, the first restaurant, 1994. My partner and I decided everyone needs to know about this place. So we put up posters through this service. We put posters up in every single metro line. You found one where you were cleaning out the place. It's the original. It's the OG poster.
That was right.
And we put them up in every metro line, so people, while standing there, we thought if they're standing there in the metro, travel along, and they look at the posters, and we were thinking of the posters that were there, what would be something that would capture their attention?
Oh, I'm scared
to ask. 1/3 of the poster is a mirror. 1/3 of it is reflective.
Yeah.
So everyone wants to, and then when they're looking at them, then they start to read the text that there's this new, American style place.
So they see them. That's genius.
And the food offering was different. The beer offering was different. Every place in town had one beer on tap.
Yep.
We were the first place to have.
That's true.
And
if I remember rightly, on that poster when I saw it, the price point
was so low.
Were we single figures?
Our cheapest 10 grade beer was 13 crowns. Started at 13, went all the way up to 21 crowns for a beer. Yeah.
And just for comparison, the modern day equivalent is probably...
No, we didn't have that yet.
What was it you had back then?
It was Jeho Český pivovary. So it was Platon, Samson, and Regent.
Regent. Yeah.
And we'd love to sit and chat, but we're going to have to probably wrap this up, Max.
Oh yeah, damn!
Yeah, we've got
with
you're gonna have to come back.
You guys, I would join you anytime.
The producer's doing star jumps behind us to wrap this.
So anyway, Timmy, for all of that, I mean, thank you. Yeah. We'll have all of the references in there to Max's personal experience. The book will be on there. Link to the restaurant will be there. Yeah. I'm sure it will apply like a 5-10% discount if you subscribe and like through the show.
Yeah. Yes, I'm paying cash.
And again, thanks to Xtelligence for powering this. Anybody out there, again, there are tons of positions. Just click the link below. They are IT orientated positions, but we know out there you love it.
Yes.
So it's good night from him.
And it's a good night from me. And this might be... Actually, it's not the last podcast.
No, we've got a Christmas special coming out next week.
Yes, exactly. Whereupon you shall be duly wished festive greetings on that episode.
Yeah,
so from me
close.
And from our brother Max,
thanks,
we will bid you happy times and see you next time.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.